Guys, what's up? Welcome to Onelife Podcast. Here with Damon from the Healing Sanctuary. Thank you so much for being here, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
And then I love what you do. Everything you're posting, everything you seem to represent is 100% of what I'm trying to do here. Beautiful. So I'm very excited to talk to you.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah. So the Healing Sanctuary. What is it? Why do you do it?
Sure.
What got you started?
Wow. Well, the Healing Sanctuary is a holistic, restorative, sober living home. Okay.
Sober living home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are working with folks typically that are coming out of a medical detox. Not always. Sometimes there are people that are dealing with PTSD related issues, depression, anxiety, mental health issues, and so on.
When you just ask a simple question, when you say medical detox, does that mean some addiction to alcohol or drugs?
Yeah, so
what does that mean exactly?
So people that are coming off of harsh substances, so it can be meth, heroin, opiates, cocaine, party drugs, all of that, and they're
pretty heavy stuff.
So you can't necessarily cold turkey it. You can, but it can be dangerous. So a lot of times people will go to a facility to safely begin the process of peeling it back to their, technically sober. But there is strangely not really a place for people to go to learn life skills and gain tools to be able to face the challenges that they're up against.
Out of that.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh.
So they're at this crossroads of their life, and addiction and people with those types of issues, it doesn't just only affect that person. It also affects their family, their partner, their loved ones, their coworkers, whatever it might be. So we also in our program work with those individuals and give them the care and the support.
Guidance to help, the tools to help.
Yes.
That's interesting. Can you ever think about that, would you?
But so that I think that's where a lot of programs are missing the boat on is a couple of things. One is an exit strategy. So say, for instance, when somebody goes through a medical detox, then they're sharing time with us, whether it be a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be. And they're like, wow, I feel amazing. I'm good to go. But now I have to face real life. And how do I make this adjustment back into my home? Maybe that home they can't sell or move. So that reminds them, there's a trigger like, I used to do blow in the bathroom, or I used to at 4:30. There's this vibration. I would go hit the drink in my own kitchen. So we have an exit strategy to help them be able to face those challenges. I literally later today, I will be going home with a girl who's graduating out of our program and going into her home and setting up shop for her, so it has remnants of her experience from our place into her home. Now, she doesn't have this fantastic cold plunge like I have at the Healing Sanctuary. So, but how can I do this on a budget? We can get 2 jugs of of water and freeze them in the freezer.
Yeah.
And then we can put those into the sink in the kitchen, fill it up, and she can do what I call extremity training and do like 8 minutes with her hands. It's the same, the same thing that you're getting from it, which is be able to self-regulate, be able to use a very specific breath pattern to be able to overcome this obstacle, right? So it's constantly changing your physiology, your emotional reset. It puts you back into, you feel that you are in control. So I set up shop into their home. I've even flown to other cities with people when they graduate out to set up a system for them in their own home. So and even habit loops, like for instance, some people might even have like a time of day, like all of a sudden, boom, it hits them like a ton of bricks. Like I would use it like 4:30. I would need my first drink.
I feel like sugar is like that.
Sugar, yes, you hit it. It's more addictive than cocaine. But
if you have soda, if you have soda at 4 p.m. today, tomorrow at 4 p.m., you're craving sugar.
Absolutely.
I just want to jump in for a sec. Have you ever read Scar Tissue, Anthony Kiedis' book?
Yes, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes.
And I've never been into drugs or addicted to anything, but it's so crazy to be put in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
But what comes to my mind is he would do the rehab, he would come out, but he didn't have you there.
No.
He didn't have that system in place.
Yes.
So what happened? He fell straight back in it.
Absolutely. So
and his environment, his house, everything about
you're
it.
100% right. Yes.
He had no chance.
So there's an exit strategy, and then there's the post-care, which is, so we have an actual team. So the way we have it set up, we only have maybe 4 to 5 people that can stay with us at a time. So we can give individual attention. But when that individual leaves, they have a team, 6-to-1 ratio pouring into them. We have a DO that we work with, a doctor, osteopath, doctor of Chinese medicine, who is our acupuncturist, herbologist. We have other counselors, psychologists, my wife, who is master nutritionist, basically in the psychology and science of food, both,
Okay.
and then myself. So they literally have an entire team that is dedicated to them for the next 3 months while they're
3
out.
months.
So if it takes longer, it does. But
Okay.
usually we really are able to stomp out that vicious cycle, and that's what's really key.
How long does a medical detox generally last? First of all,
It kind of depends. It's an insurance thing also with folks. It could be 30 days to 90 days, depending on the issue. It's very custom.
Yeah,
to
I
what
figured
might
it would be different.
Yeah,
but
and how harsh, how long they've been, in that predicament in their
Okay.
life. Some people, they're 20 years of substance abuse.
Mm.
The average person goes in and out of of that cycle at least 4 times in their life. My brother went in and out of rehabs 4 times and unfortunately committed suicide, and that was that. And
is that a big part to do with why you're doing what you do?
Yes, that is my focus. I saw not only did it to me, but I saw what it did to my parents. They tried to do everything right. My mom, what did I do wrong? Living with that, with no answers and an understanding. So the pain that they felt. So it was so visceral for me that I decided this, it was just my whole life. I felt like I was building towards something. And
I'm on the same page.
And
that was your not awakening, but that was your calling.
It was.
And as bad as that is, it may be the best thing as far as helping other people, would you say?
Absolutely.
I don't like to say that. I say it very lightly.
It's that. I mean, sometimes we're leveraged to such an intense point that you're able to move. So I work with what I call high functioning professionals too, right? So these are executives, these are CEOs, owners of business, upper management, athletes, and musicians too. And what happens is those folks are in a power position, so it's easier, 4 times more likely for them not to get help because they can get away with delegating. Or they can get away from not having to face the music.
You mean
right?
those people being addicted?
Yes. So,
really?
So the regular guy, it's not easy to hide if you have to be at work at 9. But when you're the boss or CEO to a company, you can. So anyway, you dive even deeper, and then also you think about it, they're responsible maybe for 100 people's jobs, 1,000 people's jobs. There's a lot going on there. So we have a very discreet and private way to connect with them and stay with us. Because they're looking for that kind of thing. And also we don't call it a rehab because we're really not. We're a reset.
I like that.
Yeah. And so the stigma of I got to go to rehab, they're just going to, I'm not doing it. There's shame, right? There's guilt, all this stuff. But when we share something, we are a holistic retreat. And then we're creating a reset for people's life, get them back online. And we have what's called the Chi to Life program. The Chi to Life is the key to life.
Chi, going back to martial arts, meditation.
And the key to life is first and foremost is to simply breathe. And then we bring about the other components, the other modalities to be able to bring people back online. And it has to be intense, man. It's got to be crazy intense, because if you think the dopamine hit that you're getting, whether you do cocaine or what, even social media, we're getting those micro hits, bang, 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 bang. The news feed, all the things that add up overnight. That's so intense. So the way that I share the breath work is like you feel the earth open up. You're
trying to match that or even better that feeling.
Yes. So I bring it. So now they're sober, but now they're in this deficit. Like they need it. So what can I give to them that is healthy?
That's powerful, right?
Controlled adrenaline into the body.
So they need this. Yes. They need this thing. But
and then I throw them in a cold plunge, right? And then all of a sudden, then you're getting that dopamine from the cold, which you're going to do later today with some folks. It's fantastic, but it helps people. Like it's so you're sitting there, and you got to basically. You're dealing with your stuff. I'll just put it that way nicely. I don't know if we can curse, so I just
no, good. Okay, say whatever you like.
So you're dealing with your shit. You are sitting there in that moment, and I look at the cold plunge and the ice and all that. That is the negativity. That's the toxicity. That's all the stuff in the world that's so draining in the burden that we hold and everything. And that's you being the still point. That's you facing it and laughing in the face of adversity and overcoming. And if you can do that for 5 minutes at 35 degrees and over and over again, and so you feel that yes, there is hope, and yes, that I can overcome, and that I can actually have a life of purpose and passion and get back to baseline. And my family, there'll be a level of forgiveness. We go through, again, we connect with the family and bridge that gap, because so many times, why should I even bother getting sober? They'll never forgive me. Like, that's the thing. So they go into just even more of a depletion and heartache. And we actually have a program that's called, it's a compassionate communication program, where they begin to learn how to speak. We've lost the way to verbalize our emotions. So it comes out in anger. It comes out in depression, anxiety. We react instead of respond. So we begin to teach these life skills on how to communicate, how to love, how to forgive. It's an incredible experience to watch in real time the life come back in their eyes, and that's where you really see it, like, because they just are drained. I
want to touch on the cold, because like the cold brings mental strength and things like that, but you're going on a much deeper level, aren't you?
Yes.
I've never heard anyone even mention that before.
So I'll share with you, it's a 3-step process that we, so say if somebody stays with us 90 days. So the first month, I have control of, so actually it's a hot tub, cold tub, so I can go like 110 to 35, right? So kind of thing. And then if I throw ice in, I can get colder.
Yeah.
But this is not ego. This is about, to be honest with you and for everybody, if you do 3 days a week at 55 for 5 minutes, you've done all the health benefits. Then it becomes something more. But that's all you technically need.
It becomes,
That's all you technically need.
I do cold showers. I've done them for 6 years. And I know anything past 2 minutes is more mental and more of a me thing than it is the health. The health benefits already there.
So people like, I did 15 minutes. It's just like, then it has become something else. But if you just want the strict benefits of all of the wonderful things that it brings, the inflammation gets doused down and your metabolism, and all the good stuff.
Brown fat.
Yeah.
So you're saying 3 times a week for 5 minutes.
Yeah, for like 55. It doesn't have to be crazy.
Which isn't that cold.
That is a reasonable ask.
That is a very reasonable ask.
So I'll share with you.
That's not big. I feel like anyone out there could do that.
Yes, it's we got to get out of our comfort zone. We got to get out of complacency and choose to put on our big boy pants, or ladies, but so the first month I have with you, we do it every day in the morning. First thing, 5 a.m.
Right? Oh, so, okay. So you're getting even just getting up is hard for most people.
So it's the whole circadian rhythm getting in on point. Like Dr. Andrew Huberman, we get the light in the eyes and all this.
You a fan of him?
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
I love him.
Yeah.
So we do our morning breath work. So actually, that's even earlier. So we do our breath work. We oxygenate. We create controlled adrenaline. We step into gratitude. We begin to visualize and see the day before us, and then boom, beeline it to the colds, which is like cellular regeneration, right? It changes you entirely. So I have a morning routine that everybody does, which is critical. So as we huff it out, and then we go out there, and sometimes I'll put them in the hot box, which is my infrared, and sometimes it's straight into the cold. We mix it up. It actually feels colder when you get hot first.
Yeah. Is the hot box actually hard? I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, so my infrared, it's not like a regular sauna where it's like 185, but you get the benefits at like 155 that I have it set because it goes deeper into the tissue, and you don't have to go as long. It serves its purpose. I like doing both of them, but it's nice. It has room for like 4 people. So anyway, so we get into cold. I'm going to give you a couple of clues, and some people may or may not know this. One, you want to get in right away. You don't
with the cold?
Don't tiptoe into it. It's like a Band-Aid on a hairy arm, man. You want to like rip that thing off.
The sooner you're under, the better it is.
But I'll tell you a trick though. Take a deep breath in and exhale as you get in, because that takes the sting out of it.
Really?
Yeah. So if I've done this before. I like turn it on the shower. But I'm not in it, and I go do something to come back, and say, for instance, I thought it was warm, but it's like cold, and as soon as you get into, right, that's what we do, right? So I teach.
So you're reversing that.
So I teach Qigong, which is the mastery of internal martial arts. So this is taking the offense from the inside out. So this is part of taking the offense, which is exhaling as you get into it, and it takes that sting right out.
I could see that because the first thing is
man versus nature, man. Yeah. So we dive in. So And so anyway, so it's rushing water. It's like Lake Michigan. This thing is moving. Like I have it flooded.
Oh, is it really?
Right.
Which is even harder.
Yes.
Still water is so much easier.
So yes, when you see those pictures on social media and people are like stoic in ice in a barrel, I laugh, or like a casket, I call it. They're just sitting there like still. That is not how you do it.
It's so much easier when you say, as soon as you move, you get cold again.
You had Ryan and Alma, or I think the young lady.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that because they've been to my place a bunch of times.
Oh, have they?
And they know to move. That's the proper way to do it. Where other people, they are still like statue, like, just praying. So we don't want this to be a sufferfest, right? So I teach different breath patterns to follow, which makes it so much more pleasant because you're finding the still point. You're able to be in the moment, find a meditative component into this so that you can begin to disappear, and you're not thinking about, oh my God, and just survive. You want to thrive. You want to really enjoy all of it, man. You got to really dig it. So the first month, so we'll start at like 59.
Okay.
And then we'll start every day, one tick down.
I gotcha.
Because you're staying with me for 3 months, right? We got plenty of time.
You're not going to notice one.
So all right. So by the time the end of the month, then we go. Now it's about breath holds. So the next month we're going to practice. So you say 5 minutes at say 40. Then at the end of it, you will take deep breath in and you will go under the water and you will hold for as long as you can. Okay. And so once you get to about like a minute or 90 seconds of being able to hold your breath underwater, because that's the power of will. That the fear factor of holding your breath, not just underwater, but under cold water, is freak show. Is like, scary. So I had the guy, he started only 9 seconds. I got an Army Ranger that's staying with me right now, and he's a complete badass, but like all of a sudden the fear, boom, it's like 9 seconds. Now he's up to a minute 9 in less than a week. So he's moving the needle. So once we get into month 3, now, because remember, we did the breath work beforehand, so you're pretty oxygenated. So you get in that water, sit there for the 5 minutes, and then I'll have you take a deep breath and exhale it all out, and then go underwater, holding on the exhale. And that is another level of fear. And then that's all it has to do with your mind.
But I was going to say, that to me, that's all mental.
Now your cells, right? All the mitochondria is powered up, so they're plump and full. They can handle it. It becomes a complete mind fuck. So you go in and be able to move the needle. So
because I know you saying that, I know you'd be fine, but I know mentally you can be like, what am I doing?
Yes,
this is ludicrous.
Panic at the disco.
This is not. This is safe. This is unsafe.
So, but it's really freaking amazing to watch people get that confidence because they understand. And I said, listen, if you can do this here, imagine what you're capable in the concrete jungle. 99% of people are not willing to do what it takes.
The concrete jungle.
But like you here are showing. I lead them, I guide them, I show them, I tell them, but they do the work. And they show themselves what they're made of. Every day we do practices of the power of will because, however we like standing at the cupboard and like we're just open it up and we're standing and just looking for something to jump out of us. So do you grab the chips or do you go, you know what, I'm good. How about I take down 12 ounces of water? Because typically when we're hungry, we're actually thirsty and just shut that thing down. But it's the power of will and not getting that bag of chips and really, so life lessons, and learning skills and tools to be able to, again, face those challenges. And we just start, so I call it the mind. The mind is the vault. And you have a code to tap into. I do not have it. I can share with you dozens of downloads, and we're going to put them in. It's kind of like Neo from the Matrix. It's like, man, I know jiu-jitsu. Right? It's just like they downloaded into them. So I'm giving all of these downloads of all these different techniques and way to be able to face the challenges. So when they do face life, and that's going to hit them hard, and sometimes we break, but it all depends on how am I going to get up and am I going to respond or am I going to react? And the question I ask, or they're going to ask themselves is, what do I know? What do I know? When something difficult happens, what do I know? And they're going to go to this vault of all these things, right? And the other question is like, is this true? Because we begin to create a narrative in our mind about, it's like a story, and then we believe the story, and it not necessarily is true. We can't separate it. Then we begin to lean into the story and become a victim or all these other things. So it's like, okay, let's separate what is true, what is fact. What do I know to be true? And then, okay, Okay, no, I'm reading more into this. What do I really know this to be true without, kind of adding into more flavor into that situation?
Even stopping and reflecting for a second, right?
That's the first step.
Because I do it.
Yeah.
Did I do it all the time? No, I had to train
myself
myself to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that came from business and acting on emotion and learning to shut up and and reset, like you said. And then the more tools I added to my tool belt, the better I was able to move forward or react or what to say or what not to say.
Yeah.
And that you're kind of pretty much touching on that, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Is having the wherewithal, and that's the first thing. Is just even years ago, I used to be very judgy. Right. And I don't even know why.
I think we all have been there, right?
Kind of thing. Like I could be at a Starbucks and see somebody walk in, and I'm like, look at this fucking guy. Like, whoa.
But why? Why
would I say that? And I catch myself. I go, wait a minute, no.
I was the same when I was in my 20s.
It's terrible.
Like, why am I doing
way
that?
To be. So it's like, wait a minute, and then I'd stop and go, and I would literally out loud. Like, I don't care who's around. I'll do anything. Like I go, you know what? That is not what I mean. I'm sure this guy is an incredible person. He's got a family, all these things. So I am course correcting my thought process because this is inappropriate, it's wrong, it's judgy, and this is not the person I want to be. Like, I will talk myself out. Not the person I want to be. Yeah. I talk myself right out, and I will say it literally out loud. I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I literally have to do that because that's how it drives the message home for me, so I don't continue to be that person because that's not who I want to be. That's not who I want to be for the people that I'm surrounded with, that I influence, my wife or anything like that.
So why do you think that we do that?
I think,
and I feel like most people do that all the time.
For sure, some maybe more than others.
It's kind of
ego, right? Like this man thing, like I'm, like dominating, like
well, he doesn't go to the gym, I go to the gym.
Therefore, ego. It really comes down of being able to separate yourself and especially at the Healing Sanctuary, it's about you leave the ego at the door. And we work with a lot of military, a lot of athletes, a lot of, people that are kind of who's who per se in a certain way. And they come in with a whole idea. But the thing that's interesting is that when the breath is the truth. It's a direct reflection of your state, your emotional state, your mental, physical, emotional state, right? So, and just like the cold, the same thing, both those two things, I'll take. The bigger they are, sometimes the harder they fall, because when I try to encourage them. So today we're going to do some performance breathing, and I don't call it anything else. I'm just going to, just follow my pace and see if you can keep up, because I got like law enforcement guys, firefighters, I got, right. And they're looking at me like, who's this guy? Okay, so let's go. And then I get into, and all of a sudden they do not have their fear. Like they can't breathe. They're like, all of a sudden they're locking up, right? Right, like their lungs are atrophied, but that's not the case. It's all of a sudden you cannot fake the breath, and then the cold that separates like the truth. Like all of a sudden you get in there and it's panic. Instead of trusting yourself and trusting the process, people will they're like, if anybody gets into the cold and they're doing this, right, kind of like they're holding on. They're holding on to all of these fears and insecurities and all these things. Like they're not ready to let go.
That's interesting.
And so that's what I think part of like that whole judgy thing is insecurities and the whole thing, like I'm not good, like really deep down. If we go way down, it's like I'm not good enough. I'm imposter syndrome and all of these things that is true. So that's why we also at the Sanctuary we also do a lot of shadow work. And shadow work? So it's kind of like diving into this alter ego, this other thing that
like persona that we put on?
Yeah, like that happens, these negativities or the way that we feel about someone. Like I had to go through a lot of the shadow work when I'll quickly run through this. When I was 6, when I was 7, when I was 8, went through a lot of deep trauma. When I was 6, I was kidnapped. And I found out later it was my father getting back at my mom. So but it was very scary for a child.
Yeah.
And you remember they were getting a divorce. I remember components, but not super detailed.
But enough to have trauma.
But a lot of fear.
Okay.
Yeah, uncertainty. Like really. So that created later down the road unresolved trauma, which ended up being my shadow. Right.
Okay.
And so I'll just leave it at that because it's a long story.
Yeah.
The next year, I fell in the pool and I drowned, and they brought me back. And so I was fortunate, obviously, but terrified of the water. I couldn't take a bath. I couldn't take a shower. My mom had to like sponge bathe me. So the trauma that I had like was so severe that I couldn't even get into go in the tub and just be like a kid, like terrified of water. Water was not my thing. And the next year, my brother had friends that were playing, and this one kid, and this was pure accident, but they were play fighting, but not realizing, but they were like 15, and I'm 7 or 8 at that time. So like not knowing, so he's choking me out, but I'm turning color, but he didn't really realize what was going on. My brother at the last second, but like, so I was so traumatized, like I didn't want to be touched. Right, like I was, like had marks like on my neck and turning color. So, so I couldn't even have my mother couldn't even embrace me or hold me or anything because I was so tripped out. So 1 year after the other, 6, 7, 8, I was traumatized. And so what happened is that I began to live with this fear, dramatic fear of everything. Of being taken away, of losing my family, so ultimately later down the road, I started this terrible journey of addiction and problems in my life too.
Because that started from that.
Not dealing with it. So
gotcha.
So basically,
this is common, right?
Oh yeah.
This is what everyone does for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of different people I know, and they've been through trauma when they're young. They suppressed it, or they didn't know how to deal with it.
Push it down,
and then push it down,
stuff
in a good way.
So later in my life, I realized like if I don't deal with this past trauma, I'm going to be a shadow. My shadow will be me, basically. Yep.
Shadow would be you.
Yeah. So
how do you explain that shadow? How do you explain shadow exactly? I get what you're getting at, but how do you use?
Basically, it is that negativity or that what has come of you,
like a trauma version of yourself.
Basically, yeah. So what you want to do is embrace your shadow rather than suppressing.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Right. So the thing is what it is. Like without knowing all the things I know now, I insisted to my parents like I need swimming lessons.
Okay, so you kind of push into it in a way.
Now I went to this place to like a swimming hole type of thing for like 3 months and just sat there watching kids, and it took until I finally braved it out to actually have real lessons.
Okay.
And then a couple years later, I wanted to take jiu-jitsu lessons.
Yeah, I was going to say jiu-jitsu comes to mind. Pushing into your shadow.
And we shared the story, and I said, listen, I mean, basically, I need you to choke me out. I need if I can get through this and survive, but I'm consciously choosing this for my life so that I can get over this, or I'll never have a relationship. I'll never be able to have intimacy. All of these things. Like so I forced myself into these things at a younger age.
So being aware of it, and then realizing what it is, and then how to push into it and get growth from it.
Yeah.
So you're hitting it head on, right?
I had to.
But you're hitting it head on in a realistic, slowly sustainable type of way.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were
like you said,
this is like a really brave thing to do, because
like watching swimming for 3 months before you do it.
Oh, I just sat there.
But that's amazing. The fact you actually stepped forward. And how old were you then when you kind of
early teens?
Okay, which is amazing. The fact you're aware of it.
But I went through a number of years where I just was like a fly on the wall. Not engaging in school, not engaging in sports, not engaging with people, with my family. It was real tough. And my parents had split, so it was just my mom, and she's basically, he was non-existent. So her whole world was just trying to be mom and dad and make a living and everything. So it was tough. It was tough. So
how was the jiu-jitsu for you? Like, not like being touched, because you get touched a lot in jiu-jitsu.
So I forced myself. I just had to learn to roll with the punches. But that's literally kind of like I had to put myself in jeopardy. So, because I knew I will never come back from this. If I don't, I have to do this. I have to do. So I was so adamant, and we would go 3, 4, 5 times a week, and just whatever it took for me until I got comfortable. And there was just this epiphany this one day, and I realized like I'm all right. And from there I started to flourish, and I started to get into music, and I started to just get, like my life kind of started as a teen, 15, 16 years old.
That's interesting.
And then I continued, and then later after my brother passed when I was 15 from suicide. And I had already kind of did a portion of healing, but like I hadn't started my journey. It wasn't until a number of years later did I really get on a focused path. And that's when I began to be the Vegas Iceman, because it's like I took a next level of doing submerging underwater for long periods of time under the ice and doing the cold plunges. I started like 15 years ago.
I did really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been something. It's
when it wasn't cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, by the way, it's been going on for thousands of years.
Oh yeah, it's been around forever.
Like we are not the first. It seems like a revolutionary thing, and everybody, it's all the hipsters, and it's like a thing.
That's what I always say. You go back a couple hundred years when there's no such thing as hot water. That was just the standard.
Yeah, exactly.
It was what it was.
And
we just become soft.
Exactly. Complacent.
We're soft. Everybody is so soft and so mentally weak.
Being comfortable in uncomfortable situations as at least one time a day. I said that in people in my program, probably 5 times a day, but at least one time a day, you got to put yourself out there to know that you're alive, and also give you that power of will.
So I journal now, and on the list of my journaling, comfort zone. What did I do today to push myself out of my comfort zone?
Yeah,
and I do it every single day.
Good. Now we do a ton of journaling too. There's whether it be morning journaling or end of day. I have an end of day journal. It's such a simple thing, but I'll throw that out there for people, for you. Is the first question at the whatever time the end of day is, whether it be 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever that is. What did I knock out of the park today? Right? What did I crush? Clear, and you'll know, okay, got that. Second question: what did I strike out on? What did I whiff on? What did I completely just
accountability?
Yes, right.
Accountability, right there.
So the thing is,
self accountability.
Yeah. So say I'll make up a scenario. Say for instance, you were working, you were busy, so you didn't eat, right, all day. And then it's 8 o'clock at night and I'm starving. There's nothing in the house. So you go and eat fast food and just, kind of thing. And better than that. But the thing is, and then you write it down I broke and I ate fast food and I didn't eat all day. And so the next question is, what are you going to do about it? And so that forces you. So what you're going to do is you're going to food prep. And you're going to put some, make sure you got your water.
Creating a solution.
Right?
I
so
like that.
Immediately, the first thing you do tomorrow, after you do your morning routine, is what are you going to do about it? Now, say it's a business call, and you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. I want to close this deal, but I feel uncertainty. I'm not confident in myself, or whatever it is. So you keep putting it off. This forces you to, the next day, you got to make that call and just do it. So
eat that frog first, right?
Just get it done. Because oftentimes we're making up this in our head. A lot of things, we're creating this narrative and everything else. And it's better to know if, hey, they're not going to deal with you, than know day one rather than 5 days later, and you're torturing yourself.
Would you then follow up with that business, if you didn't make that sale on that business call, would you then address what could have done better?
Yeah. Well, that becomes a different part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. But the whole thing is to get you to make that call instead of procrastinating, and maybe you missed it. They're like, oh, I should have called 4 days ago because he signed with somebody else or whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. So you got to act, and you got to take action, or you're going to miss the boat. And then the last one is what act of kindness, or not just gratitude is a different thing. What act of kindness did I share today? Whether it be holding a door, a compliment, $10 over here, to some goodwill towards something, or what, big or small, it doesn't matter. But choosing, it takes they say a lot of different things. It could take but a few weeks or so for you to get in the act of a consistent way of doing certain things. And I like specifically when you're consciously choosing to be kind. I used to be a real asshole. When in my 20s kind of thing, it's just that's no way to be. And I'm so glad that I've
grown up and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Because, but I remember being, I think that's why I can share, because I can share from a personal viewpoint. I can share from coming from a person that also had deal with addictions. And I didn't get into that world till I was 29. I was basically didn't even have a drink before then, but all of a sudden I get married, my first marriage, and it was nothing but a shit show.
Really? Alma mentioned this in a really good way. She's like, if you can't take 10 minutes for yourself, you're not really living. You can't take 5-10 minutes for yourself in the morning or at night. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
You should be able to take a little bit of time for yourself.
Yeah.
And I also think with the journaling, I think you can keep, like, I bought a couple journals. I didn't like the way they're structured. I bought a blank textbook and I created it my way. Short-term goals, long-term goals, what I'm grateful for, what I'm proud of that day, awareness, good or bad, was my diet on check, yes or no.
So let me add on that.
I want to add the other one first.
So that's the end of the day. But what I love, so Alma's right, and she's been to the sanctuary, and Ryan and has done this before. So the morning routine is called 9 minutes to Namaste, and the duration of that practice is in the title, 9 minutes. Right, so it only takes 9 minutes to do this practice, but it's so powerful and so intense that it'll blow your socks off. So the thing is every time I have like a round table with folks, right, in the beginning, it's like new for them. I share with them. I said, listen, like, does everybody here have a certain time of morning that they get up? And some do, some don't. I said, okay, you need to create structure. So if you go to bed at 10. You're up at 6. You go up at 9, you're up at 5, whatever that is, make sure, we'll talk about sleep hygiene. That's another thing, but we'll get back to that. So main thing, okay. So, and also when you get up, do you wake up by an alarm or natural? Most people wake up with an alarm. I go, is the alarm attached to your phone? And they're like, most of the time, yes. I go, not after today. That's out. Okay.
Really?
Charge your phone, put it somewhere else, go to Target, get a $9,
really?
Right? And you're going to set it on the other side of the room, guys.
So it actually makes you get up.
And it forces you, because it's obnoxious, right? That whole like 1980s old school one, it forces you to go, oh my God. So I kind of feel this energetically about like 4:35 in the morning, that people cursing my name as they're walking to their right. Okay, done. Now you're up, baby. You ain't going back. So anyway, so stop, drop, and roll. So they go right into my practice, which is 9 minutes of Namaste. So it's a very specific breath technique. There's like 3 rounds to it, but there's different breath holds. There's different sublimations, meaning you're holding on exhale, and then at the end of it, you're doing push-ups at the end and really pushing yourself. But it's not about strength, because if you do them every day, you're gonna get stronger. So what it is that once you're pushing through and doing this push-ups and you're holding on exhale, so you have no air in the body, but you're doing as many as you can till you cannot. What's going to happen is there'll be a vibration, a voice. Something is going to come in, dawning on you, going, hey man, breathe, right? That's when the game is on. So say you're at 30 push-ups, 32, 33, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh man, that's game's on. So those are the ones that really count. So say you do 10 more, and I want you to go so far till you almost like face plant, right? You got to push like as everything with your heart, your mind, your spirit, until there's nothing left in the tank, and then you just crash. There is this emotional explosion in that you're vulnerable and you open up, and that's when you can seek the truth. And step into true gratitude. So you kind of go into child's pose, and you can actually be really grateful, like deep appreciation, not just thinking about it. You're going to feel it different, right? We can say, I'm grateful. Well, I'm grateful I have my health. I got my house. I have a business. I can take care of my, like that's good. But this puts you into, you're coming from a place that is so vulnerable and open that you're speaking the universe truth, God's truth, the earth truth, whatever that it is for you. You really come from a place of the most sincere feeling that you've ever had. And then that's how you really go about your day. And at that point, visualize, you think, I know I'm having this meeting. At this meeting, I have lunch with a friend, but what I know about that is I want it to be true. I want it to be not just going, hey, you talk about some sports and whatever, and it's just bullshit. It's like you're being very conscious about. I remember he was telling me his mom was dealing with a cancer scare. Be intentional about asking about that rather than surface stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like 100%. Being more specific about it, and because we just waste time. And people, every time people say like, oh man, the day went by or this year went by, I don't even know what happened. And if that, I've been that person in the past, and I know a lot of people do. We're into a new year right now. And I heard it all the time. What I say to those people is this: if you feel that time just fucking gone, you spent too much time in the woulda, coulda, shoulda, like in the past,
yeah,
or thinking about when this happens, I'll be happy. Type of thing, or looking at your phone like there's other things going on. So what's happening is you are not here. This is the truth.
You're not living in the moment.
This is Facebook.
Yeah.
Not the other thing. We're supposed to be more connected than ever, but we're the most loneliest we've ever been.
100%.
And it's sad and it's heartbreaking, and I see it all the time. And then people go into depression, which causes anxiety, and then we get upset about it. So we're frustrated or we're angry. Then overwhelm happens, and then like it's a vicious circle. And then so how do we begin to face it? The easier way to face what's going on is to use a substance, oftentimes, right? Or video games or gambling or whatever. We go to something that's there. And that
masking it.
So what we're trying to do is actually solve a problem, but we're not getting to the core of the pain or the trauma, right? So we help a lot of folks. So everybody that we work with at the Healing Sanctuary isn't necessarily like an addict. There are people that have come to us that have had relational issues, divorces, people that so they have trauma in a different way, or so how do they face these challenges? How can they move forward when like say a spouse died of cancer? And now they're like, how do I pick up the pieces? And so we create a safe, sacred environment for them to begin to heal that process.
Do you ever work with high-performing people who don't have addictions, don't have trauma, and just want to perform on a higher level?
Yeah. So I don't want to pigeonhole everything that we do just in addiction. It just happens to be that such a large.
It's a huge part of it, and it's very important.
But absolutely. So I have a program which is True Kinetic Ownership, which is TKO, right? But true is in what is. So what do we know to be fact? What let's again go back, because there's so much misinformation and things like that, and how we begin to misconstrue our own life. So how do we begin to frame things that are for real, right? Kinetic meaning momentum, like in ownership. It was us taking ownership, and not the facade and the ego and all these types of things. That we begin to create a story. So it's kind of bringing these together. And so we have a program that's designed for men and women. It seems like I have a lot of guys that are kind of dialing into that and giving them what I call actionable solutions, and not just I'm lecturing to them and say, live this way. Like, that I am not on the I am the teacher and I am the student, and I love roundtabling with a bunch of folks that they could be 18 to 80, right? They can be Asian American, African American. It doesn't matter. It's just like all of us we can all look at one thing and have a different way to approach it, and we learn from each other, and we share, and we again come up with solutions that all of us can grow from and thrive from. Because look at the world we're living in now.
What type of are you instilling habits? Are you teaching them how to instill habits? What are you teaching these high performance people?
It's really it has a lot to do with disconnecting from habit loops that don't serve them well, because we will do that and reinsert them into more positive, powerful ones that will be proactive towards.
What's an example of that comes to mind?
Well, good thing. And so we went around it real quick. We come back is just like even sleep hygiene.
Sleep hygiene.
Yeah, is a proper. It's like it's kind of like the six senses. You think of like hearing and sight and smell and taste and touch, and then the sixth one is feel. Right. So how do we set up ourselves for success? If I have one not so good night sleeping, that's one thing. But if we are on a rotation of night after night, your production is going to crash. No matter how much talent you've got, you're going to, at some point, it's falling apart.
Yeah.
And that is a major problem. 78% of Americans have a sleeping disorder, meaning they're taking either prescription or over the counter to help them sleep. And so therefore they're not getting the proper deep sleep, and they're missing certain components of the REM. And that's also a massive problem. And that's going to be a massive problem in your production and the way that you as far as your work in life, but also all of your relationships. It's true. Everything's going to fall apart at some point.
Absolutely.
So how, we get up. So say if they're not doing my program, they kind of drone through the morning, and all of a sudden coffee, they do whatever it takes to get themselves there. But sometimes you're really not on point for like a couple hours and start moving and shaking. But meanwhile, those are very important hours. Those are the morning hours that you got to be ideal. And we're not living up to our potential. But a lot of it has to do with like, how did we prepare ourselves to go to sleep? How did we honor ourselves before, so say if we do that 9 to 5, right? Go to bed at 9, wake up at 5. It's like, okay, so we're not going to eat 2 hours before.
Okay.
Right? Because if you do, a lot of people, I just talked to so many people, those late night cravings, that's a different topic on how to deal with that.
That's affecting your sleep.
But it's because all the blood's going to the belly and you're digesting, and so right. It's just a thing.
And then you talk about your phone, not being on your phone for a certain time.
So the devices got to go out. The devices become your vices. Okay.
At what point do you cut that off before sleep?
I like at least 2 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 hours sounds like.
So dinners at.
How many people do that? Probably nobody, right?
I have it in the house. We've got a checklist and like kind of thing. So you got to put it up somewhere you're looking at it. Like, okay, I have to face this.
Okay.
Again, it's about honoring yourself. Like I love myself so much that I choose to forego the immediate gratification for long-term success. And if I don't do this, so just ask yourself, are things not clicking for you? Let's take a look at all the habits that you have in your life. What are you doing? So we go through the 6 senses of all the different things that you can do as far as sleep hygiene. The other thing if people ask all the time is like, I don't have enough time and I need to make more money. Right? Pretty much it's almost everybody. Like I don't have enough time and I need to make more money. I said, give me your phone and your bank statements. Oh, slow down. Who are you? What? And okay, I go, forget the phone. Just give me, let's see. Or forget the bank statements. Just give me your phone. Okay, let's find out if I can find probably 10 hours in a week, right? That's not being utilized well. And if you value your time, say you value your time at $100 an hour, which is lowball, but say it's $100 an hour. That 10 hours a week, that's $1,000. That in a year is almost $50,000. So we found time that you've been spending in a kind of a bullshit way. And also, if you value your time, we found about $48,000 of money. So now let's create the critical path in order to make this understanding into a reality. You can maximize this time. It's that simple.
No,
it's that simple.
I love that.
But when I say give me your phone and give me a bank statement, because the thing is, we'll find out what you value.
It's accountability.
And it's Pornhub or something, or no, Facebook or fucking TikTok. Whatever. But the thing is, we all know, people in the bathroom, leave your phone out of the bathroom. Do not take it in there. You're wasting time. And if you added all that up, that's probably at least another 2 hours a week, right?
Or on the other hand, actually utilize that time and learn something or...
So yes, educate yourself, right? So have podcasts or whatever that is, documentaries. Constantly be learning, constantly be reading is very key.
I live and breathe that. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah. So it's all of those things. So it's so we start. So everybody's sitting there and we're talking about this, but then so it's great to round table and ask questions. And I ask very simple questions. What do you want? Huh? All of a sudden you're putting on, what do I want?
Even a lot of people can't answer that.
So the thing is okay, let's pull back. What do you not want? And usually that's easier. I don't want this in my life. I don't want that. Once you start having it gets to about 10, then what you do want is going to come to surface. Oh, shit.
That even applies to dating. Everyone knows what they don't want, but nobody knows what they actually want.
Yeah. So it's funny, but then we'll get people like, well, I want to be happy. Oh, stop right there. So happiness is an emotion, like a cloud. It's going to come and go. So let's think about so let's create the critical path to happiness. What would that be? Okay, so progress, meaning when you are moving the needle forward and you're getting somewhere and momentum, that creates a feeling of happiness. 100%. When we're stagnant and things are not moving and cooking and you're almost going backwards,
depressed.
It's a shit show.
Yeah.
So let's create habits in certain things proactive for you then to create happiness, create a sense of joy and fulfillment. That's what you're looking for. So just saying a blank statement of I want to be happy.
I love how you put that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how you put that. It's if you're not progressing, little short-term goals, little short-term wins, that keeps you happy, quote unquote. But
moving forward.
Not being stagnant or going backwards.
And that all has to do with the habits that you have in your life. You know, all the little things add up. They're not trivial. They really do have a purpose and a meaning.
Huge.
You know,
I wanted to touch on that. Your habits. I feel like you've got a lot. Can you give me a bit of a rundown on your daily routine, your habits, things you recommend?
Well, I mean, ultimately,
and on top of that, just how to get started with even one habit and then to build on that, because I feel like a lot of people don't have any. So suddenly, if you've got 50, how do I get to that level?
So let's keep it simple, Simon, because it's too overwhelming, especially if you're coming from a place where you're starting from scratch.
That's,
you know what I'm saying? So I'll give an example of a friend of mine, and you know, I love him. God bless him. I've been friends for 20 some years, but he is like the opposite of me.
Yeah.
Right, kind of thing. But I love him anyway. You know, like there's no shame with that. It's like I've learned, you know, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And he's sharing with me like he's just he's got a sugar craving or late night eating, and like, you know, we're the same age, but we look like two different specimens, kind of thing. And it's
how old
are
you? If you don't mind asking. 50. That's amazing.
You know, so you know, it's like I said, listen, let's keep it simple. If you can walk, don't think about doing a HIIT program and running, and you know, just walk, man. Just walk. We used to walk all over, like as cavemen, and back in the day, we walked and we never ate. We didn't know we were going to eat, you know, type of thing. So fasting is part of that self-discipline type of thing.
That's like, a whole different.
We forget what it's like to be hungry. Oh my God, I'm starving. I go, you ate 8 hours? There's no way you're starving. You're, you know. So that becomes a whole thing.
Let's come back to the fasting, because I'm a huge advocate of fasting.
So so we'll get back. So I said, listen, you know, let's walk, brother. Just walk. Try, you know, try to get in, I don't know, 10, 15 miles, but just walk. Don't, you know, you just got, your body needs to move.
Okay.
You got to get the lymphatics going. You got to like, just get your body moving and get your heart healthy, kind of thing. Like, let's, you know, down the road, you can go next level, but let's keep it simple. Just walk. Just, you know, if you're, you know, he works a job as a desk job. So like, he's not doing anything. He's there and he works extra hours. He could be there 10 or 12 or 14 hours. He's not moving anything, doesn't take a break. So just sharing with him the simplicity of just walking and choosing, instead of driving a block when you go to lunch, walk there, man. And just, you know, we just so comfortable and like, don't even think about it.
We even get caught up in just I don't like, I go back to my dad, the meal would come out, salt and pepper. He wouldn't try the meal first. It was just an instinctual bad habit that, so just getting in a car and driving a block, we just do it. But
you could see it from your window.
Or like parking, like, you got to get close to the elevators. Why do we do that? It's just instilled in us, and we just do it second nature.
We have to really consciously choose.
Consciously be aware of that and then break it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I'm sharing with him like habits of like, when you get it, you've got to, you know, it's winning the battle of the morning. Now,
just one thing.
Yeah, just get up early. You know, it takes a while to get into that habit, but get up early. You know, so for his particular case though, is walk to the gym, walk to, you know, or bike or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to diet and all these diets. He takes these weird shots. I don't even know he's taking everything, but like nothing, you know, is really working.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. So I said, listen, the enemy is sugar. This year of 23, all you got to do is face that enemy. That's the only thing that you got to do. If you can begin to break that cycle in this year, then all the other things are going to begin to work for you.
And that'll change so many things.
So I go, let's, you know, because I could tell him, oh, you should do this and all these things. And I know he's not going to do it unless he lived with me. Then he'd be forced to do it. But otherwise, the thing is like, listen, he's a grown man. So ultimately, it's like, let's just, you know, just walk, man. If other things happen, great. If you end up training, go to working out or swimming or any of these other things, I'm not even telling them how to eat. Like all the other stuff, I go, basically, you got to focus only on sugar.
Yeah.
Okay. And if we can begin to move the needle in that category, that's going to be a W for this year.
Okay.
And you know, because I love them, but I don't want to overwhelm. It seems too overwhelming when I tell people, and I give them 15 things to do. They're like,
yeah, they're not going to do anything. We made a video.
Okay, but they're going, no.
We talked about New Year's resolutions yesterday, talking about if you set 10 different resolutions, you're not going to do any of them.
Yeah.
If you set one and you set it in a maintainable way, you might stick to it.
Yeah.
But then you also got to make it important enough to you.
Yeah. But so answer, I sort of answered, sort of did not answer. So when I'm up, So I have clients that are on the East Coast in other countries. So I got to get up early because I have contact with a lot of folks. I'm making calls, I'm emailing, I'm texting, I'm sharing, positive affirmations, all just outreach to people because they depend on me. And so I got to be out for the game all the time. So I do that. I have my own breath work. I do my cold exposure. I do everything up before 5:15 before anybody at the sanctuary is even up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I have kind of my own Oedipus set up. I do my journaling, my reading, whatever that I got to do, depending on our start time. But I have to get right. I can't pour into these people with everything I got if I haven't kind of cleansed and cleared, because there are energies and there are things that overflow because of all the emotional intensity that's coming out. And these stories that I've got literal war stories that would just blow your mind, and then of course just the struggles of addiction and everything. So that can't help but weigh you down. And so I got to get right, and so that I do that at night, and I also do it in the morning. So that
you're prepping yourself for the day.
I have to be prepared. So I am going into battle, and I have to lead, and it's my responsibility.
You have to lead.
Yeah. It's my responsibility to bring them across and encourage them and show them the way. And everything is custom. Every minute, everything word I say is custom to the moment, to what is the right thing that they need in this moment, what's required. So it's, you think about, like, we want to grow, this business to another house and help more people, but we look at it as one soul at a time. We can't mass produce this in a way where we got 40 people going on. I can't help that many people. But I want to be able to, so it doesn't happen. What happened to my brother doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
And also your family gets their son or daughter back, or whatever it might be. Their husband or wife or whatever it is. Genuinely, like, we've restored in our support system. So, like, I have to be the best that I can be. Everybody in the team has to be prepared and to deliver the goods. Now, we're still leading and guiding. They have to do the work, but the way we have it structured, that's part of the habit that I have to do. So I get myself there. Then we go through the routine of the day, individual experiences, group experiences, whatever, that might be. But I a lot of times I'll get my training in with them. So I'll double up and have other trainers. So everybody's, so we're all banging iron, or we're all breathing. We're all, so it's, I love the fact that I have the opportunity to do what I do. I get to do this.
But you also created that for yourself too.
Yeah, and it took years to create.
I think a lot of people realize, I hate what I do, blah, blah, blah. But you took accountability, you created something, and you're grinding to make what you want to do.
Yeah, I love it.
And you're helping other people, just like the podcast. I could be sitting there, I wish I could have a podcast and talk to interesting guests, or I can create it.
Yeah.
So some of your daily habits, you're journaling, you're doing the cold therapy, you're doing breath work, you're hitting the weights,
physical training,
boxing, you do martial arts, martial arts.
So whatever I have time for, and I like to kind of mix it up and have the people that we're working with are staying there depending on what their ability is and so on. So we get to share in that and have that experience, and with each other, and then with other trainers or coaches.
Is this something that you do which isn't talked about, or it's not popular, or it's not cool right now, that you might be able to share? Like we talked about the cold. I've been up for 6 years. I did it before I was cold. You've been doing it for 15 years.
Well,
but is this something that you do?
I don't know. I'll bring this up. I don't know if this makes sense or whatever. So, so when you're in the infrared, I have this bag of rice, right? This big 20-pound sack, and when you're in there, you're grinding your hand, right? So because we have very weak hands and feet. So I have a sandbox. So we do calisthenics, and so we're doing jumping jacks and high knees and butt kickers in the sand. Yeah. I used to train on the beach back.
Beach training is amazing.
LA, California. So I emulate. So I have a sandbox. So everybody trains the strengthening their feet. So you can gain about 10 to 15% more strength in your upper body by strengthening your hands. Because think about when you're doing pull-ups.
Oh yeah, it's all grip strength.
The hands come apart, not your lats. So
I did personal training for years. Females suck at holding weight. They're so much stronger in the body than they are in the hands.
So I tell it's like What did you do? What you guys worked out? What'd you do? Oh, we did back and chest today. What'd you do? We did legs. What'd you do? Hands and feet. You've never heard somebody go, oh, we did hands and feet today.
Hands and
what?
feet training.
What? That's never been said.
I like that.
But we literally do hands and feet, which is a thing.
Yeah.
Because, because we're soft, man. So we got to, and the thing I love about it is that the grains are so fine that you're not getting all calloused up, but you're getting strong, powerful hands. And that's going to, so people are like, oh man, I need to get stronger. I go, okay, tell me about your entire thing. And then, but it's never brought up that they're strengthening their hands and feet. I go, well, let's start. They think they got to take something. Oh, what should I eat this way or should I take this supplement? No, let's train smarter.
I like that.
And also, I wield the mace, the iron gata. I've been doing that for like 8 years.
What's that?
So it's like from the Middle East, but it's a bar with the ball at the end.
Oh yeah,
right.
The one,
yeah. I've been doing that for a long time. I have my own routine. It's called Chi Force training. It's a lot of fun.
So you do a bunch of different things.
Yeah. So we're out there. It's funny how like 10 pounds can like bring you to your knees if you don't know how to. It's all about. So the thing is, it's about leverage, right? How are you leveraging it? How are you holding? Right? And so I bring in life lessons into the workouts about, so like the bank is a bank, like you have a mortgage on it or where are you at in this position? So we started bringing in an understanding of the importance of having leverage.
Gotcha.
How to leverage your competition in business, in life, in relationships, face it, it is what it is. But, but we do it. So we talk about those things while we're training with the mace. So we're not just like, Neanderthals or something.
You know what hormesis means? David Sinclair talks about it a lot. Hormesis, like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, okay.
So cold therapy, fasting, exercise, all that stuff. You seem like you live and breathe this stuff. Fasting, talk to me about fasting. Why do you do it? The benefits of it. Give me some more depth.
I mean, ultimately, what may work for me doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
I do 24s. I've been doing 24s for about 16 months.
So one day on, one day off?
So 20 meaning 20 hours off and 4 hours. Okay. So I have a 4-hour eating window.
What do they call that? The warrior one? I think it is.
Labels.
Yeah, what so 20 hours fasting.
Sometimes I do one meal, which is the autophagy, the type of thing. But
that's pretty much what I do. I do generally one meal or an hour and a half window.
Yeah, so so basically I have a 4-hour eating window. And it also, remember guys, it all comes down to the quality of your calories. The quality, not just people misconstrue, what that is. I love to start with I make my own smoothies at home, my own nut milks and all that kind of stuff. But so how you start your breakfast, right? So we're breaking a fast. How I break my breakfast is through a smoothie or a handful of almonds or pecans and fresh fruit, something like that. That sets the tone because if you start off with like a sandwich or something that has carbs, you're going to want carbs later and sugar later. If you start off clean, baby, you're not going to have that internal craving or want to have that, so you continue.
You're associating from the start.
Now I'm vegetable forward, but I'm not vegan. I'll
vegetable forward. I like that.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody should be vegetable forward.
Yeah, so I would say most of my carbs come from vegetables.
Yeah,
like it's very rare that I get them any other way. I do love my wife makes me overnight oats sometimes. They're the best treat on the planet. So I will partake in it. But the carbs are maybe 23 carbs in that, so it's not heavy, but delicious. But I mean, I'll have an organic bison ribeye, and I love to cook, kind of thing. So some sort of organic, free range chicken or wild caught sea bass or things of that nature. But you can't have enough vegetables. That's fine. Fruits, it's very simple stuff. Nothing packaged.
Why do you fast?
Oh, well, I ultimately, and I'm going to be completely transparent about this.
I would love to hear this.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I have been training on and off my whole life, taking care of myself. And I found when we went into the pandemic, there was a level of, everybody knows, a level of uncertainty. There was a level of like, what the fuck we're going to do with our lives? Like especially the first, 2020, before, 20 things started to kind of shift around into 21. Like we started to have a better understanding. We got a better grip on like, okay, we're going to be able to manage this and get through this at some point in time. But in 2020, when at first it was like, holy shit, like, I don't even know, like we kind of just like froze, for a bit. Everybody's frightened. And if you watch the news cycle, it was just really was tearing you up. So, I think I found myself, kind of just eating whatever. Like I just was just waiting for answers. And so, I ended up getting COVID.
You did
and I almost died from it. I was in the hospital, ICU for 7 days.
Even as healthy as you are.
As healthy as I was. But then, so the last day that they had me, they were going to check me out. They said that my A1C was diabetic, like the lowest level of it. But I was like, get the fuck. I was in denial. I didn't believe him. That can't be right. All this stuff. But it was at the lowest level of it. But still saying like, because there's a lot of comorbidity. Comorbidity would be, say, diabetes, heart disease, other things like that. I think like and I look back in transparency, like, maybe it was eating not the way I should anymore. Like, like I still worked out, so I was fat fit or some shit like that. Yeah. So anyway, but I think I had pushed myself over the line by just like not giving a fuck, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And so that was a wake up call to me when I got out. And so the other thing is that my lungs were scarred to hell. I could maybe take a breath in for maybe 3 seconds, and then, I was a mess. So my superpower is breathing, right? And was taken from me. So it was kryptonite. So COVID was my kryptonite. And so, I had to relearn how to breathe. Like literally I would sit and for 2 to 3 hours for the first month when I got out of the hospital and just did breath work. Just sat on the couch. Just simple, like coherent or resonant breathing, 5 in, 5 out, 10 in, 10 out. Just relearning how to breathe and open up and expand the upper lower lobes, everything I could, anything I could. And so it was playing a trick on my mind too, the fear, of mortality, fear of, everything. So I had to like relearn how to breathe. And then I started with the diet. And then I realized, my understanding, it would be, how can I reverse whatever damage I've done to myself as far as that. So I felt that, that's how my body would respond, was going into that deficit, type of thing for doing fasting.
So you started learning about the fasting.
Yeah, so I went from 12 hours to 16 hours to 18 hours to 20 hours, and I found like, and plus the other thing in our mind, we think like, my mom, God bless her, she always was like, oh, you have to eat something, you need energy.
Yeah.
And then, so meanwhile, we're digesting food all day long, and we're always like kind of, lethargic. And
60-70% of our energy goes into digesting food.
Yeah.
If you're always eating, you never got true energy.
Absolutely.
And as you know, like, I've been fasting for 5-6 years. When you start fasting, your energy is insane.
Yeah.
It is so much better than it'll ever be eating.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I can work I can do 2 a days, work with people all day, and then have one meal at the end of the day at nighttime, and I'm good. And people, like, I never thought that possible.
Because it goes against everything you've ever been taught
we've
to
ever
believe.
been told.
Your parent, you mentioned your mom. My mom was exactly the same.
Yes, the
but
FDA.
it's marketing, right?
Yes,
it's marketing.
It is. So
it's more money by eating Fruit Loops in the morning.
And we have a belief system that this is the only way to this is the way it works. The old school, like the protein powders right after a workout and all these things, just like real.
I was that guy.
Real food, real results. That stuff is.
I was that guy. 20-minute window, protein shake on the way out, meal within an hour of training.
Oh yeah, all this stuff. Like they are on board. Like they're in cahoots. Everybody.
I mean, someone's making a lot of money from that.
Because they're making money. And so
I eat 5 times less than I ever have in my entire life, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'm actually shocked how little I eat. I weigh 225 pounds, and I eat less than I ever have in my entire life.
So once you get to that space, so I'm like 159. So it's like I've maintained, I guess you call it like a single digit body fat.
Yeah, which is amazing.
For like 16 months. And all I have to do is just maintain. I know exactly what I need to eat, and the time the time restricted eating window and everything down to, and especially just getting your carbs. Basically sugar comes from nature, fruit and whatever. And my carbs mostly come from vegetables. And I never thought this possible in the past until I said, listen, I'm going to do this and bite the bullet. And all of a sudden I found like this works, fasting works. Now it's also great to do like a real fast. So these are just
like
daily
a prolonged fast. Yeah. I've done a 3-day fast as long.
Yeah.
But I'd like to build on that, just like we do. We like to challenge, we like to progress.
Yeah.
But the benefits of doing prolonged fast too. Like autophagy, like you mentioned. Yeah. Most people don't even know what autophagy is. Yeah, a lot of people think it's BS. There's a Nobel Prize winner in 2016 in medicine. It's fact.
Yeah. And it's only through, listen, I had to brave it out and trust that unfortunately I listened to like enough doctors and people talking about it to go, like, okay, I'm going to trust in this and do it. And only through experience. And that's when it became so real for me is when I actually did it and go, yeah. So, but I wouldn't say it's for everybody. It's I just know what works for me. So I try not to kind of push that upon other people. Now, I do believe there is that part of what we, in the program, that the willpower. Now, I'll have some of the guys, maybe they'll do like 16/8. I don't push them past that. Yeah. But just they're used to eating every aside from sleeping, every 4 hours, 3 hours, like they're having something and like, even if it's clean, you have to learn like, how does this feel? And it's crazy. They'll be in the kitchen like, can we, they're just begging for something and I go, drink some water, and after a few weeks or so, then they realize this is crazy. My whole life I've been living this way and it wasn't even necessary.
I started lifting weights when I was 17. I'm now 43. So 25 years lifting weights. 6 meals a day. You got to eat every 2.5 hours. Protein. My life was dictated around my next meal. Yes. Anywhere I went, anything I did. Have I eaten? Have I got food to take with me for the X amount of time I'm going to be here or here? When I get home, do I have food ready to eat? My entire life. Yeah. At 39, I start fasting. 16 hours, fasting, 8-hour window. Skip breakfast for the first time in 39 years. Oh my God, I'm going to shrink and going to do this.
Yes, ego.
And then I just progressed and I realized, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. And I don't eat and I build up to 18, 20, 24-hour fast, 3-day fast. Yeah. And then I found a balance that works for me. And I'm able to, at 43, be able to stay in shape, stay healthy, but have a life.
Yes.
Stay in shape without living and breathing 6 meals a day, because you've been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It sucks. It's a full-time job. And the older you get, the less important it is to be that guy walking around with a big bag full of lunch boxes or eating tuna and rice out of a 110-degree car just because you're trying to be healthy. Yeah.
We get mental about it, especially gym rats and people. Like we lose our mind of what
the gym rat mentality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm lucky that. So I went through 2 different phases. When I was 40, I started doing Spartan races, right? The outdoor course racing, OCRs, and fell in love with it right away, type of thing. And I realized like I need to change how I'm training, because it was like 200 some pounds, low 200s kind of thing.
Really?
5'7". So I was
that's a big boy.
I was a completely different human being, and I go, this isn't going to work. And I was ready. Thank God it came to me in a time in my life when I was ready to make a major shift. And it was after I got divorced. It was just like, I'm ready. So everything I ever learned, I threw out the window and started redoing. And so I retrained my body. But the diet didn't change necessarily. I mean, to a degree, but I mean, but I just changed like the formula and thinned out and I enjoyed it. I was fast, but I was still like in the 170s or so. So I lost maybe 25 pounds or 30 pounds or something. And, but I still was too big. So the older I got, like you're saying, the older I got, the more mature I got, the more understanding I go, this is not necessary. I just want to,
it's not necessary.
And the whole eating thing all the time, kind of thing. It's just like, I don't even think about food until like, sometimes my wife has to remind me. It's like, have you eaten at all?
Last time I was talking to my parents on the phone, it was 6 o'clock at night and they're like, oh, you still fast? I'm like, that's right. I haven't eaten today. Yeah. That was probably a 22-hour fast yesterday without even thinking about it.
So, and so your mind is sharper, I believe.
So much sharper. Much sharper. And the longer you fast, the sharper you get.
Absolutely.
Can you relate to that?
Yeah, 100%.
Especially when you get in that 18, 20 hour section, you start to get real clarity.
And I found that I am able to get into that flow state. And I try...
Flow state being a good word.
Yeah, so I try to put in 2 90-minute rounds a day of deep work, meaning everything is shut down. No phone, no distraction, like where I can write and create.
Really?
I believe too that the breath, like Dan Brule he was 20 years before Wim.
So I don't know him at all.
So Dan Brule is like he was like special forces, like he was a Marine, and or Navy. So nonetheless, so him and I had gotten together, and because I worked with a lot of veterans and first responders. And so we connected really well. And then, but he has in the book focused on how breath opens and unlocks creativity and imagination, in which we're missing dramatically today. And especially our new generations, our younger kids are on the computer. They're not playing, they're not creating, they're not doing these things, and they're stuck. And a generation coming up is not going to have that same spark, that same way to tap into it, because they're just, playing video games. And,
do you, can I jump on that?
Yeah.
Do you think it's because we never have quiet time? Like the importance of being disconnected, like you said, not being on the phone, not having an audiobook on, not just literally doing like
noise, constant noise.
So when I was a kid and I'm at the doctor's, I'm in the waiting room, I'm waiting. Yeah. I'm not just, there's nothing else to distract you with.
Yeah.
But we never wait. We never.
Now the parents give them an iPad.
Well, everybody, parents, like,
or whatever. But like
we're always doing something. When
we were a kid, we didn't have.
We were forced to have quiet time, right?
Or just like
I drive in the car. It was quiet because there was nothing else to do besides looking out the window.
Yeah. So you think and you create and you imagine, and that's the magic can happen in those
That's
moments.
when the magic happens.
Yes.
Yeah. But we don't get a chance for that magic to happen because we're always distracted.
Yeah. So that's why I like to have intentional 2 sections. I like to have it like after I put everybody through a certain portion of segment, they're exhausted. I go back in, so I'm still pumped because I haven't eaten. I'm like, I've already done my workout, a bunch of breath work. We hit the cold. We've done all stuff. Everybody's like toast. So they're actually having breakfast, and I'm back upstairs in my office and writing. And so that gives me like a good like 90 minutes of solitude to be able to focus and get on that. And then I eventually, I don't know, somewhere anywhere between 1 and 3, I'll do it again. Type of thing, and still on that fast kind of thing because my mind is
What's the longest you've done a fast for?
7
You've
days?
done 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days.
So
water, obviously.
Yeah. So you could probably relate to this. The hardest thing about doing a prolonged fast is, what do you do with your time? You've got so much extra time.
Well, okay, so
you're a busy guy, so you probably.
What, it wasn't like I'm running the show here and doing 7 days. I did this where. There was just meditation, breath work. I was at an event type of thing where everybody was in it, and there's a lot of laughing, a lot of crying, a lot of screaming, type of thing. Yeah, so I was with like a dozen other people doing the whole thing, and it was a vow of silence, and it also was dark. So the whole thing. So it helped me face the demons. It helped me face So the first couple of days. It reminds me of the Temascal experience or sweat lodge, Native American, like Lakota type of sweat lodge experience, where they do the 4 phases at the north, the south, the east, the west. They have the infants, the children, they have the teenagers, they have the adults and the elders, right? They do the 4 different sequences through it, usually 15 minutes or so each one, but it's brutal. But the first 2 days when I was doing with, you're in your mind, you're thinking about you're in your body, and you're just losing it. And about day 3 or so is when you make the separation, and then you're able to go beyond yourself, right? Connect with source or whatever it might be for you. The same thing happens in the sweat lodge where it's like brutal. They've got 22 volcanic bricks like just smoldering in there, right? And you're huffing it out. So the first 2 rounds is usually you're in your mind, you're in your head about what's going on. It's you're just like almost survival at that moment. But every time for me, once I get to that 3rd round of there's chanting and singing. I don't know what they're saying. It's another language, but it doesn't matter. You feel the beauty and that you feel the ancestry. You feel the depth of love that's going on, and the honoring of the generations and ceremony and respect of all of that. And then you're able to make that separation again when you're in that place, and you can truly, in a remarkable way, begin to get out of your there's no pain, right? There's no fear, there's no burden on you. The answers come to you. You begin to have this epiphany of truth. And then that's when things speak to you. Then you have that clarity of exactly what you were supposed to do. And it's fucking awesome, man. But I also want to head back on something that we talked about, or we were skipped over real quick, is we do a lot of work with veterans and first responders, locally and nationally. So we offer these retreat experiences for them to come and at no cost to them. So really? Sponsors will take care of them. We got a gentleman that's sponsored who's staying with us for a couple of months right now. His story is ridiculous. We actually have a guy that's coming in to talk to him about doing a documentary because his story is so insane.
Really?
That I'm just astounded. But we get to share time. But we were able to get him sponsored. He gets funds from the VA. Not a lot. These people don't have a bunch of money, and they really need the help. So I am hoping that by the end of this year we'll have another house that will be geared entirely for veterans, and that it will be sponsored, so nobody will pay. That's the goal this year for them, is so they can go through this program. Everybody can do 90 days, meaning we can sponsor up to 25 veterans at no cost to them, be able to open our doors and offer these other modalities in a way to be able to sort through their life and help them. We've connected with another place called the Shiloh Ranch, which is kind of like a Yellowstone, which is pretty badass, but they're very, very cool. They work with horses. They learn trades. They have a jobs program there, so we can get them working.
Okay.
So they're getting very fair wages and health insurance or benefits and so on like that. So we can really get them back on their feet.
Is it PTSD that you're mainly going to be helping with? Is that the main thing it comes from?
Typically, but a lot of times when you have that, there's also it flows into alcohol use and things. So they kind of crisscross, and it is what it is. But
how high a percentage do people who are ex-military suffer from this? It's quite high, isn't it?
I don't want to make up a number, but I'll just say from my experience, I would say more than 50%.
Really? Wow.
It's a struggle.
So this is very important.
You have seen things you can't unsee.
Yeah.
It's and then you have guilt and shame about it that your own country, has basically given an order and you have to follow.
And then majority of them being male and pride and unable to talk to people.
And so they stuff it down.
Male's the worst for it, right?
Yeah.
Can you say that? Like, male's the worst for like suppressing things and stuffing.
In my experience, I'm not saying that they're the only one. I know it's both sides, but what I have personally experienced
and being a male yourself,
the way that I share these experiences seems to really resonate with people who have served, even though I did not serve. But I had a couple of friends that lost their lives, and so it was close to me, and they were, so I lived vicariously through them, and I felt the pain. I've worked with their families, their spouse, and one gentleman, and so I remember I used to tour with a group called the Chi Revolution, and they would be 3-day seminars, and we'd be in front of 500 to 5,000 people a show. We do 20 shows a year, and we did that all the way up to the pandemic. But in 2015, we made a decision that we wanted to open our doors and have these seminars free to them, so they didn't have to pay. And there was 3-day seminars, so it's like 36 hours of like qigong and tai chi and food, healing science and breath work and meditation, mindful, all these great things for them. And we wanted we were able to touch so many lives with it that I want to open up shop. So my nonprofit is called chiunited.org, and be able to give experiences for them and teach them modalities and how to deal with the pressure and the difficulties that they're faced against all the time. And through the years, we've expanded it from having just classes, and then we started doing, so I started having to do a Spark race. I'd have them and sponsor like 20-30 guys to do the race with me. And so we would just lead out, and we start together, finish together, and we train, overcome the obstacles of the mind, of the body. It was fantastic. And then it grew into something more. Last few years, we've been having these retreats for them, and giving them, weekend experiences. So they would have like 5-pack or 6-pack of guys come in, stay with us. We feed them, we teach them all these things, and have all these wonderful experiences. And there's so much growth in brotherhood and connection, because that's what it is. The opposite of isolation, connection. And so bringing this to the forefront and really, so we add value to other nonprofits, other veteran nonprofits. We're not like a membership or anything like that. We just want to reach out to other folks that you need help. We're there. I have an acupuncturist who was a Marine, and he's brilliant. He was fantastic. And so we found, like, I was having classes and they were asking, I had these like seeds right in the ears, and they asked me, oh, what's that? So I told them what it was and do acupuncture. Like, oh, we tried it once, but I can't get a script from the VA but every 3 months, and if it's going to work, you got to have a consistency, and they can't get it. So find a problem, solve a problem. So Extreme Couture, which is Randy Couture's gym. So we set up shop at his place, and we put our acupuncturists in there. So every Saturday from like, I think it's from noon to 3, free services, first come, first serve. And we did that last year for like 9 months.
Gotcha.
So plug the hole so people that really needed it can actually get the help. There's a lot of pain. So acupuncture can identify pain, but not just physical pain, but emotional pain. Yep. So we can kind of redirect traffic in this meridian system and move through those blockages and move through those pain, but it has to be consistent. So, so giving back to our veteran community was really important, and in hopes that this year we'll have another house that it's going to be directly only for them,
which is huge. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know you're a busy guy, so I'd love to get you back on here and maybe pick a couple subjects if you ever got time. Sure. I feel like you got a lot of value to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
So I just want to say thank you for being here. But if you ever got time, I'd love to get you back here.
Sounds good. Love to. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. That was absolutely enlightening.